our first guest speaker. Stephen Moore is an environmental technology professional, head of climate action program at the GSMA, having worked on climate action for over a decade. And he will focus his presentation on climate action across the mobile industry. Welcome to the main stage, Stephen. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Robert, for inviting me here today. It's great to be with you. As Robert mentioned, I'm the head of climate action at the GSMA. The GSMA is the Global Industry Association for Mobile Operators. So today I'm going to talk about how the mobile industry is taking climate action and why it's so important. Last year, mobile technologies and services generated $3.9 trillion worth of economic value worldwide. That's around 4.6% of global GDP. So if the mobile industry were a country, we'd be the fourth largest economy in the world. That's on a par with Germany. And the use of mobile, as Robert's mentioned, by both consumers and businesses continues to grow. And so our economic impact continues to grow as well. But what makes up the mobile industry? GSMA members are the 750 plus mobile operators around the world, as well as other businesses in the mobile ecosystem and key industries, from internet companies to car makers. The GSMA is the Mobile Industry Association, and we work with our members on industry programs that add value to the digital economy, like our Climate Action Program. We're also the company behind Mobile World Congress, one of the largest B2B conferences in the world. In normal times, we hold this in February in Barcelona, and it's attended by around 100,000 people. Obviously, there have been some challenges in putting on that event this year. Across the mobile industry, though, climate change really matters to us. It's both a threat to the planet, and as we're an infrastructure business, it's a serious risk to our industry. Extreme weather events, flooding, loss of electricity, all of these things hit us hard. And how do you reach friends, family, and essential services without mobile connectivity? People are relying more and more on their mobile phones. And so our customers, our employees, and our investors need us to act. So we're doing three things to take this on. First, adapting to a changing climate. We know climate change is happening and it's already affecting us. Secondly, limiting our carbon emissions. We need to do this quickly to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees. And thirdly, helping others to limit their carbon emissions. Our smart connected technologies are vital to reducing emissions across all sectors. Firstly, let's look at adapting to a changing climate. I mentioned the impact of the environment on our infrastructure. Take hurricanes, for example. In the southeastern part of the US, flooding is an annual event, and climate change is making it worse. To better manage the risks of flooding, AT&T partnered with the National Argonne Laboratory in the US to create a climate change analysis tool. This tool helps anticipate the potential impacts of climate change on AT&T's network infrastructure and business operations 30 years into the future. When the worst happens, the mobile industry is also there to help. For example, after Hurricane Maria devastated Puerto Rico, mobile industry operators AT&T, Claro, and Sprint worked together in a way never seen before to reconnect the country and support people in need. We're also helping scientists to understand what's happening on land and at sea. How fast is the ice cover in the Alps changing? Mobile operator Orange has provided remote monitoring capabilities to scientists to measure it in real time. I was amazed to learn the importance of mangrove forests, not only as a carbon sink to store carbon, but also for flood adaptation. In Malaysia and the Philippines, sensors deployed by operators and our partner Ericsson helped to double the survival rate of regenerated mangroves. So what are we doing in the mobile industry to reduce the speed of climate change and make sure these extreme weather events don't become even more frequent? You might be thinking, this multi-trillion-dollar industry, 4.6% of global GDP, we must be a big part of the problem. We're perhaps not as big as you think. The amazing thing is that even with over 5 billion people connected to our networks, less than 1% of global carbon emissions come from the mobile sector. Using my smartphone for a year has the same emissions as one 200-mile trip in my car. And that includes all the emissions created by the manufacture of the phone and powering the network to run it. Like the technology sector generally, our industry is very fast moving, and the data running across our networks is growing at an incredible rate. Over the last 5 years, data traffic has grown by more than 17 times. Innovations in technology mean that the same power supports much more traffic, but we're having to run very fast just to stand still. So how can we maintain growth in our industry whilst managing our emissions at the same time? The answer lies in managing future risks. Research last year showed how companies that disclose their environmental impacts had better access to capital than those that didn't. The companies that disclosed their climate risks had high-quality management teams who are aware of material threats and opportunities to the business. This is just one reason why the GSMA kicked off an industry-wide climate program last year, starting with a focus on disclosing climate risks. Now, 2/3 of mobile connections globally are provided by mobile companies who disclose their climate risks. And that number we expect to see even higher this year. Obviously, companies mustn't just disclose, they must also take action to reduce their emissions. Disclosures just really tell you where you are, but you also need to know where you're going. So as an industry, we have said we want to be net zero emissions by 2050. This is based on the latest science to limit global overheating by 1.5 degrees. Many of our members are already setting science-based targets. Just over half the industry by revenue has set a science-based target aligned to the Paris Climate Change Agreement. And of those, half again are aligned to net zero emissions by 2050. So that equates to 26% of the mobile industry. Our members are demonstrating amazing commitment and ambition, and we're working to get even more signed up to these world-leading climate targets in the run-up to the UN Climate Conference COP26 next year. But as I mentioned earlier, we're running just to stand still. And I'm sure you're all aware of the ambitions across the world, as Robert mentioned earlier, to launch 5G. On the one hand, 5G is a much more energy efficient technology than 4G. In fact, it can use 90% less energy to transfer 1 bit of data. But 5G means adding another network and more data traffic. This puts upward pressure on energy use. So to combat this, we can use things like virtualized networks, tower sharing, AI algorithms, and removing older networks. So what might be an increase in electricity use in the short term can be brought back down in the longer term. We also have a quick win to reduce the climate impacts from our electricity use. The simplest way to reduce our risks is to switch to 100% renewable electricity. It's exciting to see that many mobile operators have already committed to doing just that. And in the process, they are becoming big drivers of additional renewable energy capacity on our grids. Telefonica, for example, has a global commitment to run its own operations on 100% renewable energy and work with partners in Mexico to build solar power plants to supply its network and customer service centers. And operators in Jordan, including Orange, invested heavily in solar power to generate most of their network's energy needs. So what I hope this shows you is that our industry is serious about reducing its own emissions. And otherwise, I don't think we'll be credible when we want to talk to others about how they can reduce their emissions. And we really do want to talk to other sectors about this because smart connected technologies are vital for all sectors to decarbonize. Last year, in the United Nations Climate Conference in Madrid, we launched research that shows the mobile sector is currently enabling carbon savings 10 times our own emissions across all other sectors. This is likely to have become even higher since the pandemic, as we've moved even more into the digital space. Our research estimated that mobile communications technology avoided the use of 1.4 billion megawatt hours of electricity and gas consumption in 2018. That's equivalent to powering more than half of all the homes in the USA. And this connectivity avoided using 520 billion litres of fuel globally. That's equivalent to fuel for more than 600 million cars for a whole year. And by 2025, we estimate that these savings could be twice as large again. So how does our industry do this? There are two key ways. Firstly, by providing smart connecting technology that forms the so-called Internet of Things. This means smart buildings, smart energy, smart manufacturing, smart agriculture, smart cities, pretty much anything with the word smart in front of it. So one example would be smart buildings. This allows us to monitor building energy use remotely and adjust it as we need it. My smart meter and heating controls at home let me know how much energy I'm using. And I can switch it off while I'm away and have the house warm for when I get back. A second example, which is small currently but has big potential, is smart agriculture. Using connected sensors, farmers are able to monitor and control the air and temperature and soil, as well as light, water, and nutrient levels. China Mobile used connected sensors with a strawberry grower. The harvest started 20 days earlier and doubled by the end of the season. Furthermore, the use of water and fertilizer was reduced by 50%. So that's the huge potential of smart agriculture. Another way our sector helps reduce emissions is by creating sustainable behavior change through the use of smartphones. Smartphones enable a lot of sustainable lifestyle choices. We can now access the sharing economy, whether it's eBay, Airbnb, Zipcar, to name just a few. We can bank remotely, shop remotely, and even see our doctor remotely. This has obviously become essential over the last few months. COVID-19 has accelerated the trends we're already seeing with more remote working and online collaboration. So I hope this gives you an idea of how digitization can help us reach net zero carbon emissions across all sectors. To recap, the mobile sector is a small part of the problem at less than 1% of global carbon emissions. We're working hard to reduce these emissions further, but we're also a big part of the solution, with mobile technologies currently helping reduce 10 times the emissions of our industry globally across all other sectors. There's big potential for that to grow as well. So we're working together as an industry and we're collaborating in ways that we haven't ever before. Collaboration and cooperation, or as we use it in the mobile sector, co-opetition, which is a slightly clunky word, but it really sums up how we work with our members. We work together with our members, but they also compete with each other as to who leads on climate action. And we do this through our Climate Action Task Force. The task force has more than 40 mobile operator groups as members, covering every continent and most countries. We help them understand climate risks, provide guidance around setting targets and achieving them, and raise the profile of their leadership. We're currently working on energy efficiency initiatives, boosting renewable electricity use, setting science-based targets, and engaging common suppliers across the industry on climate action. We want to be the leading sector on climate action. And then business support for this is especially important as we build up to the UN Conference on Climate Change next year, COP26. So in summary, as a sector, we're committed to net zero carbon emissions and limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees. We also want others to get there as well. We believe that a decarbonised world is a digital world. The net zero world we want to live in isn't the lockdown that many of us have been experiencing, and it doesn't have to be. A balanced use of technology can both reduce emissions and enhance our lives at the same time. It doesn't require magic. Most of the technology needed for our industry and others to reduce emissions and delivering growth is available today. We're committed to delivering it. Thank you. If you'd like to find out any more information about our climate work, please check out our website, gsma.com/climate action.